Well, this whole situation with the government vis-a-vis the banks, and the banks had the veto and the power over the last government that I was a member of. They have even a bigger grip over this government. I couldn't believe this morning in the chamber at leaders' questions when Minister of Finance took leaders' questions, which is unusual. The teacher was obviously way in a tarnished, and he said how he was relying, or he read on, in reply to a question to me, Hall Martin said how he had relied on, or he'd read this morning's Independent for a report of how the CEO of Ulster Bank, how he had behaved and what information he had given and what answers he gave, more importantly, to the Finance Committee yesterday. I'm just aghast that the Minister hadn't a senior official in at that meeting taking note of what the Chief Executive of the Ulster Bank what answers he was given and pay heed to them. But obviously the Minister, and I saw the headlines morning on the Irish Independent as well, I was quite shocked. There's no housing bubble. Noonan wants prices to rise. I mean, it's either in cahoots with the papers or in cahoots with the banks or both. Then Deputy P.S. Doherty was able to come in on the order and the leaders' questions immediately afterwards, and he didn't have to. Minister Noonan didn't have to rely on any media outlet. He had come straight from the Finance Committee, where the Chief Executive, I think, of Irish Permanent is in today, and the same. What I call it? I want to call it lies, but it's subterfuge, and the same act. These people are running riot. These banks, they're evicting people, are trying to evict people on an hourly basis now. It's been escalated hugely, thanks to our friends banking, Jerry Beads and company, and some active citizens around the country who were stopping the sheriff in his tracks, because my understanding is that under 2009, which I've referred to before, Land and Conveyancing Act, the power of the sheriff to repossess a family home was removed. It's quite clearly stated. And I've written to the senior county registrar who is in Dundalk, and for the whole country, and superintendents, and indeed the sheriff's office, to know why are they carrying out, trying to evict families from their family homes under this act, which disappeared. The powers did in 2009, and I think the Taoiseach, the Minister of Finance, and the government need to step up to the plate and clarify this. I've raised it in the door with him, as you'll see on some of the clips later, and I just think that it's time that the government represented the people, not the banks. They're acting for the banks and not the ordinary citizens. The ordinary citizens are carrying a huge load since the bank bailout, and right up along since the Land and Conveyancing Act then that Minister Shatter takes so much credit for being a reforming minister. That gives a veto to the banks, and it's I called it more appropriately the eviction bill. And the other piece of legislation they passed as well, it has given the veto to the banks. Mrs. Justice Dunn had a judgment, came known as the Justice Dunn judgment, who stopped banks and lending aid houses from repossessing second homes, or what they call them for a better name, for investment properties. And they passed a law in here, and Fine Gael Labour voted for it, to get over that judgment to allow the banks to repossess these homes. But I'm more concerned about the family homes and family businesses, and it's all for the banks. We get answers in all the time that they're doing a code of practice for the banks. Central Bank have tightened up the code of practice. Codes of practice for these bankers, for their agents, the mobsters that they send out to do repossession, some private companies that are out there acting outside the law on many occasions, as has happened in Wexford, has happened last week in Dunshaughlin, and else many other cases. Bully by tactics. These have to be reined in, and the government have to take responsibility and represent the people, not the banks.